Alright, let's kick things off with the biggest race of them all, the one in New York. It's a powerful position, running New York City. Zohran Mamdani centered his campaign on one main goal: making the city more affordable for everyday people. President Trump, meanwhile, accused him of being a communist. In the end, Mandani defeated former state governor Andrew Cuomo, who, interestingly, ran as an independent this time and even had Trump's backing. Mandani called his win a victory for working people. Let's take a listen.
As long as we can remember, the working people of New York have been told by the wealthy and the well-connected that power does not belong in their hands. Fingers bruised from lifting boxes on the warehouse floor, palms calloused from delivery bike handlebars, knuckles scarred with kitchen burns. These are not hands that have been allowed to hold power. And yet, over the last 12 months, you have dared to reach for something greater. Tonight, against all odds, we have grasped it.
Now, turning to Virginia, another key race worth watching. The Democratic candidate, Abigail Spanberger, just made history as the state's first ever female governor. She secured 57.5% of the vote. That's over 15 points ahead of Republican Win Sears, who finished with 42.3%. Let's hear what she had to say in her victory speech.
He went from a long shot candidate with very little name recognition to, as you say, a national figure. And so everyone has looked at how exactly he was able to do that and what that means for other Democrats who want to be able to elicit a similar amount of energy and excitement as they enter the next year when midterm elections will begin against President Donald Trump. And what Zohran Mamdani did was he had a laser focus on affordability. Of course, the top issue in this, the most expensive city in America. But he also had a way about him, an authenticity that helped him connect with voters in this diverse city. And we heard in his victory speech there that he will be unapologetic about his faith as a Muslim, about his politics as a democratic socialist. And he tried to not only show that he would fight against Donald Trump, saying, Donald Trump, I know you're listening, turn the volume up louder, and saying that only the city where Donald Trump came from knows how to hit back and fight back. The entire city will do that. But he also wanted to give people joy and hope with his campaign. And so he did that as well through this speech, promising change, promising a new era of leadership in governments where excellence will be the norm. Now, the key challenge for him at this juncture is to show he's just as equipped to govern. At 34 years old, people worried about his inexperience, some of his critics, and whether he can get an agenda that has to be funded through state lawmakers in New York, not just city lawmakers. So all of those are challenges on the table for him. Of course, President Donald Trump has also said that he will cut federal funding, calling Mandani a communist. So all those challenges are on the table, but tonight, as you can see, a very joyous mood here, and his supporters really feel that they were able to do something politically that was unthinkable.
Next up, New Jersey, another race that centered on the cost of living. There, Democrat Mikey Sherrill came out on top, earning 56.2% of the vote, which put her about 13 points ahead of her Republican opponent, Jack Ciattarelli, who ended with 43.2%. Here's what she told her supporters after the win.
He sent a message to the whole world that in 2025, Virginia chose pragmatism over partisanship. We chose our Commonwealth over chaos.
President Trump has since responded to the Democrats' strong results across the country. He cited unnamed pollsters, claiming the Democrats only won because he wasn't on the ballot, and because of the ongoing government shutdown. Over in London, Mayor Sadiq Khan congratulated Zohran Mamdani on his victory, saying New Yorkers faced a clear choice between hope and fear, and, as he put it, hope won. There's a lot to discuss, so joining me in the studio is Dr. Thomas Giff, Director of the Center on U.S. Politics at University College London. Welcome, Dr. Giff. These elections are the first major test since President Trump returned to office, and they seem to show that voters in certain areas aren't necessarily siding with Republicans right now. Let's start with Virginia before heading back to New York, because that one feels especially significant. Republicans often perform well there, and they held the governor's office before Tuesday night. What's your take?
I've fought for you. I've spoken with thousands of you over this last year. I know your struggles. I know your hopes. I know your dreams. So serving you is worth any tough fight I have to take on, and I am incredibly honored to be your next governor.
You're absolutely right. Virginia's outcome is important. The state had been led by Glenn Youngkin, often nicknamed Trump in khakis. This time, Abigail Spanberger won by steering more toward the political center. She argued that Democrats had drifted too far left, and that message clearly connected with voters. Her win definitely stands out.
I think you're absolutely right that Virginia is important. It was governed by Glenn Youngkin, who is often referred to as Trump in khakis. Abigail Spanberger won this time. She did so largely by pivoting towards the center. She really said that the Democrats, by and large, pivoted partially towards the left. And so I think her victory is important.
That point about Democrats shifting too far left brings us neatly to New York, where we've got a young Democratic socialist, Zohran Mamdani, who made heavy use of social media during his campaign. Interestingly, even some in his own party didn't fully rally behind him. Exactly, and that's where much of the controversy came from. Mandani openly identifies as a socialist. He's pushed for rent freezes, state-run grocery stores, and has even said that capitalism is theft. Because of that, many centrist Democrats were hesitant to support him. Still, he pulled off a strong win, about 10 percentage points ahead of former Governor Cuomo. Yeah, and remember, he was going up against an establishment figure in Cuomo. Plus, he'd already been targeted by Donald Trump during his campaign. Being the mayor of New York is a huge job, a major political platform. How do you think that dynamic between Trump and Mandani will play out? It's a massive role, roughly 10 million voters in the city. But I don't think we'll see any warm relationship between Trump and Mandani. Trump has a history of avoiding cooperation with officials who criticize him, and few have been more outspoken against him than Mandani. Taking a step back, when you look at these elections overall, would you say they're more of a protest vote against Trump, or do they signal something deeper about how people feel 1 year into his presidency? I think it's a mix of both. It's clearly a rebuke of Trump. Democrats wanted these elections to serve as a kind of referendum on his presidency, and to a large extent, that's what happened. About a third of all ad spending in places like New Jersey and Virginia mentioned Trump directly, making these races feel national. That said, we shouldn't overread it. New Jersey, New York City, and Virginia are already trending blue, so they don't necessarily reflect what could happen in key swing states. Indeed. And briefly, what does this mean for the future of the Democratic Party? Republicans clearly rally around Trump, but the Democrats don't have a single defining figure right now. Between Mandani's progressive wing and Spanberger's centrist approach, where does the party go from here? I think Republicans will try to portray the entire Democratic Party as being represented by Mandani, because they see him as too far left. In their eyes, he's the perfect symbol to campaign against, almost a walking, talking billboard for what they call radical democratic ideas. Dr. Giff, thanks so much for joining us and putting all this into perspective. These elections are the first major test since Trump's re-election, and they've definitely given both parties a lot to think about. Appreciate your time.